You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! Boy, that's good stuff. Those gigantic steaks are incredible. I'm telling you, folks, check them out. It's just a personal preference. It is what it is. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents as well. Across the United States, about 213 total channels, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates, and Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. Of course, that's a really big number, gaining somewhere around 4 million impressions per hour. Big number, really big number. And you know, we're waiting on our special guest, and let's see if he pops in or not. I don't know. We're going to see. But I'll tell you what, in the interim, I will tell you that there have been some changes in case you're living under a rock and you're a big college football fan like myself. How about this one? How about the college football playoff system has been changed? Now, do we give that a round of applause or do we give it a big fat boo? I'm not really sure which way to go with it, but it's gone to that 5+7 format to allow for more at-large bids. Now, reported by multiple sources, the college football playoff officially has a new format, and CFP leaders adopted a change to the 12-team expanded playoff model, moving to a 5+7 system that incorporates 5 automatic qualifying spots for the highest-ranked conference champions and 7 at-large spots for the next highest-ranked teams. Officials scrapped the original proposal, which was 6+6, after the latest realignment wave left the Pac-12 with just a couple of teams, decreasing the AQ spots, automatic qualifying spots, and increasing the at-large selection. So the proposal received the necessary unanimous 11-0 support, ending a drama-filled pushback by the Pac-12, of course, because there's only 2 official members at this point. So there is a small problem when we think of it. You say, well, wait a minute. What happened to Pac-12? We'll get to that. So for at least 2 more years, the Pac-12 retains a voting spot on the 11-member CFP Board of Managers, made up of a university president from 10 FBS leagues and Notre Dame. Washington State President Kurt Schultz, the conference representative on the board, delayed a vote on 5+7 move last month, while Washington State and Oregon State officials organized a proposal that he presented to the board members. And of course, the Pac-12 is seeking to consider, remaining a power league with Power 5 voting rights and revenue distribution. That's the key here. So for years beyond 2025, the final year of the CFP's contract is with the 4-letter network, but you can call them ESPN if you so choose. So it's unclear if a decision has been made on the proposal, but Schultz did not block the format change. And we'll get into that in a moment as well. So in an interview recently, Schultz acknowledged that the 5+7 changed the benefits the Pac-12 remaining schools and its increased at-large spots. Now, the league is not eligible for automatic berth, of course, in the playoffs because it falls short of the member minimum required, which is actually 8 teams, not 2 teams, in competitive pay. See if I can spit that one out. Competitive play. Right, that's really what we wanted to say. Of course, a change that the commissioners adopted, a few months back. Now, the expanded playoff begins next season. In the approved format, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions earned a bye into the quarterfinals, which, like the semifinals, are played as a rotation of 6 bowl sites. Now, in the 2024 playoff, the first-round games played at a home site of the better seed will kick off the 3rd week of December. 1 game will be played on Friday night, the 20th of December, and 3 games on Saturday, the 21st, which pits college football against the National Football League. And of course, the NFL begins playing regular season games on Saturdays on that weekend, coincidentally. So, Mark Keenum, Mississippi State president and chair of the CFP Board of Managers, said, quote, "This is a very logical adjustment for the college football playoff based on the evolution of our conference structure since the board first adopted this new format in September of 2022. And I know this change will also be received well by student athletes, coaches, and fans. We'll all be pleased to see this new format come to life on the field." Close quotes. Not so sure of that either, if you know what I mean. Now remember, 3 of the 4 quarterfinals are slated for New Year's Day. The Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, with 1 quarterfinal, the Fiesta Bowl, scheduled on New Year's Eve. And of course, the semifinals are scheduled to be played on a midweek day, January 9th or 10th. Those are Thursday or Friday, in an effort to avoid the NFL's wild card weekend, which begins on that following Saturday. I mean, this is a gigantic dumpster fire as I see it. And of course, the 2024 championship game will be held January 20th of 2025. Here we're getting further and further down the line. Remember, all these games were played on New Year's Day. It was the greatest day of college football every year. New Year's Day was. Not so fast. They'll still have some New Year's Day games, but everything's being diluted. Why? I think it's pretty obvious why. I'll tell you what.
Show me the money!
Yes, that's the reason why. It's all about money. So, of course, the move to the 5+7 model was long expected, according to many, and this is back about a few months ago. The CFP Management Committee, made up of 10 of the FBS commissioners and Notre Dame's athletic director, approved the measure and that recommended board of managers, etc., as we mentioned. And of course, the committee's presidential counterpart held a video call not too terribly long ago confirming all of this. And of course, the switch to the 5+7 format became a likely, some felt, necessary step after the implosion of the Pac-12. And the 12-team 6+6 playoff was designed to give 1 spot to each of the top group of 5s, and of course then the one basically with the next best record. Or better yet, the next highest ranked, which of course, would probably go to either the Big Ten or the SEC. That's just kind of the way it's been. Now remember, the ACC champion, Florida State, was excluded from the college football playoff, even with a perfect 13-0 record, which in itself is absolutely it's unbelievable. It should have never happened, and Florida State didn't even show up in the bowl game against Georgia, and frankly, I don't blame them. I would have just sent my team home. Here, you can have the game. We don't care because this is not where we want to play in the first place. Nonetheless, this whole best 2 group of 5 champions would have received a bid likely leaping over potentially more worthy Power 5 opponents, just like I said, with Florida State. What a mess. Any hurdles in pushing through the 5+7 model were cleared, allegedly, including an early pushback from the American Athletic Conference. Commissioner Mike Oresco and his league were against the switch before agreeing to the matter, potentially part of a more long-term guaranteed for the group of 5 to retain automatic access beyond 2025 in the first place. So, however, there is no playoff beyond the 2025 edition, as the CFP has not yet agreed to a long-term television deal, right? It's all about money. And of course, something in which the officials are in active negotiations over in the first place. So, leaders of the Big Ten and the SEC have expressed doubt in their long-term commitment to the CFP if certain concepts, such as new revenue distribution model, are not finalized to their liking. What a coincidence. And the commitment is to get right these matters, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey told Yahoo Sports recently. Now, along with a revenue model, Big Ten and SEC leaders have both expressed their desire to re-examine the 12-team format as well. For the next couple of years anyway, at least the format's going to be at 5+7. Now, applying that 5+7 model over the previous decades produces interesting results. And the SEC and Big Ten dominate the field. Big surprise, right? Between them, they would have accounted for 73 out of the 120 playoff spots, or 61% of them in a 5+7 12-team playoff in the first place. In what world is that fair? However, that logic, of course, has its flaws. Gee, what a big surprise. And of course, those calculations were made assuming that there was no Pac-12. Pac-12 teams were counted as part of their new leagues when this whole thing came about. So I ask you, is this a fair system? I don't hear anybody saying, yes, it is. And I don't think it's a fair system because, again, the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, the Mountain West Conference, now which, well, let's face it, they could migrate into the Pac-12. But remember, the Mountain West Conference produces some pretty good football games and some solid football teams. Fresno State, San Diego State, The problem is with this model is it is slanted to big money revenue for the Power 5 conference. And really, it's the Power 4 at this point. So you're going to probably see the Power 5 go down to a Power 4 made up of 20 teams each. So the Big Ten is most of the way there. The SEC has a little work to do. So is the Pac-12. The Big 12. They all have a little bit of work to do. But guess what's going to happen, folks? What's going to happen is you're going to see one giant dumpster fire, 4 divisions of 5 teams from the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC. Who knows? Maybe even the ACC might get gobbled up. And guess what might happen? The NCAA may go away. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thanks, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm the Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast. This is not a podcast. It happens to be a regular TV and radio show, yet we do store our recorded shows on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and Google Music and whatever, all of those. You can find us everywhere. You can't get away from us. Anyway, also, make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook. At Facebook, we are Sports Circus. Sports Circus. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow there. Also, on Instagram, we are TSC Show. That's TSC Show. And, of course, on X, which was formerly Twitter, we are at The Sports Circus. And by the way, folks, here's kind of a cool little thing. For our friends over there at the Chicago Food Favorites page, it's kind of cool. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. So lots of great postings up there. You can share your recipes and your ideas for great food, whatever. I like this, I don't like this, my favorite restaurant, whatever. It's a fun discussion. It's all free. I'm the administrator for it. So guess what? I don't get paid a thing for doing it. I'm just doing it because there's a big gaping hole in the market to fill. And so I filled that hole with something that people like, generally speaking. It's only been around for a couple of months and there's already hundreds of followers in there. So make sure that you join in the fun and like, subscribe, join, whatever, to Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Yes! How exciting is that? Also, a big welcome to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody else in Southern California listening with our friends throughout Los Angeles and Cherry Valley and all the way down to Palm Springs, Beaumont, whatnot. We're everywhere, folks. You can't get away from us over there. Of course, right here in Las Vegas, all the way up to Seattle and Portland, over to Chicago and Detroit, and St. Louis and Kansas City, all the way down to Texas, even in Alabama. You can find us on WAUD, that's home of the Atlanta Braves, WAUD, again, 12:30 a.m. Also a big welcome to our friends over in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM, and everybody else. Listen, I can't keep naming them off because we'll already be at the end of the show. All right. Oh, by the way, TV too. Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner Cable Television, as well as Hotel TV in about 500,000 rooms or so. All right, now that I got all that out of the way, let's get back to the CFP playoff 5+7. For years, we've been seeing these Power 5 teams dominate the college football playoff. And you say, well, yeah, that's because they're better. Are they really better? Yeah, probably. The recruiting's better. But I love the way the NCAA tournament does it, because the way the NCAA tournament does it is a way where the little guy gets a chance to play against the big guy. And as a matter of fact, if it's in the big dance, right, the big tournament of 64, now it's 68, who the hell knows? The point is, at least a little school with almost no recruiting budget can line up against these, for example, Ohio State with their $110 million recruiting budget. So you take little school from nowhere land, USA, they get to compete against the big schools that have the big budgets, etc. And I love that because it gives everybody a shot. Now, we never see that in college football now, do we? We just don't. But you know who has it right? Is 1AA. They've got it right. They have a regular playoff. It's worked this way for years and years, and it's a great system. But under this new playoff 5+7 thing, think about this. New playoff, same picture. How many teams would have made the CFP from each conference over the last 10 years? The SEC in the last 10 years would have had 38 teams in this new playoff system. The Big 10 would have had 35. The Big 12 would have had 17. The ACC would have had 14. And of course, the group of 5, well, they would have had 12. And Notre Dame would have had 4. So the reality is, it's still garbage in, garbage out. Are we ever going to see a bona fide fix that makes it reasonable for the balance of the schools out there? Because remember, folks, these are schools. They are not teams. So The University of Illinois, for example, it's a university. It's not the football team. No, it's a university. Same thing even with Notre Dame. Those guys have a university. Michigan, it's a university. And on we go. Even Ohio State, which I would argue that is hardly a university outside of agriculture, if you know what I mean. But guess what? It is a university. And so at the end of the day, you still have to have some semblance of fairness. In the NCAA basketball tournament, we see a balance. We still don't see it in football. I don't think we're ever going to see it because there's too much football money, too much other money from TV contracts that are floating around out there. What about the NIL money? All the lack of fairness in the NIL money, the name, image, and likeness money. And so that's kind of the Wild West right now. Even a big load of our friends over there in Wyoming that are watching us right now. You know what I'm talking about, from the University of Wyoming, right over there in your backyard in Cheyenne. The reality is this. Actually, the university is in Laramie, if I'm not mistaken, but our viewers are in Cheyenne. Nonetheless, the point is there's not really a semblance of fairness. And now going all the way to the other side of Wyoming, let's just go down to Nebraska for a moment, and let's examine something that's not necessarily tournament or bowl game worthy, but it is very worthy. How about this one? Former Nebraska women's basketball player sues over an inappropriate relationship. Oh boy. Ashley Scoggins, a former guard for the Nebraska women's basketball team, filed a civil lawsuit in the U.S. District Court that alleges Coach Amy Williams and other directors, such as Trevor Alberts, didn't take proper action after they found out her sexual relationship with then associate head coach Chuck Love. What? What are we talking about here? Now, this was reported by many outlets here. This is crazy. Now, according to the suit, Love allegedly honed in on Scoggins, and eventually the relationship became sexual, which Scoggins said she was afraid to back out for fear of retaliation if she refused to participate. We'll get back to that. Now, of course, Williams declined comment, and neither Alberts nor Love responded to the request for comment. And the Associated Press had reported this. Scoggins' attorney said, quote, "It's a very troubling and serious subject of predatory coaches that pursue sexual relationships with student athletes. There's an enormous imbalance of power between the professional coach and student athletes. This is something that was well known in 2022. Certainly, Division I universities that operate at the top level are well aware of the harm that comes from this kind of predatory situation. And there's a strong onus on the university and on the coaches to prevent this from happening, and heaven forbid it does, to address it correctly." Close quote. So, on the same day that Love was suspended with pay back in February of 2022, Scoggins was dismissed from the Cornhuskers after 2 seasons. She now plays at UNLV, while Love resigned 3 months after his suspension. Now, Scoggins' attorney filed the lawsuit recently, and Nebraska said it became aware of it, so they acknowledged it. Now, Melissa Lee, a university spokeswoman, said in a statement, quote, "While the university does not comment on specific pending litigation, it does not agree with the allegations contained in the complaint and intends to vigorously defend this matter." As they should. Oh, by the way, close quote, as they should. And of course, the lawsuit explained that the situation started back in 2021 when Scoggins expressing interest in coaching someday, and Love presenting an opportunity for her to come under his wing. And she sat at a small table in his office, and he allegedly began to ask her personal questions. Allegedly. Even though he was married, Scoggins said Love repeatedly asked her out on dates, which she declined. When she finally accepted one of his invitations, he allegedly kissed her in the parking lot and then asked her, quote, "Have you ever done anything with a coach before?" Close quote. Hey, I'm the bearer of news, not good news or bad news. I'm just the messenger, so don't shoot the messenger. So it was at that point she said that, she understood that Love allegedly wanted a physical relationship, and this left Scoggins feeling trapped. Now, a few months later, fellow teammates and male practice players created a trap for Scoggins and recorded her in Love's room. And the video was presented to Williams, and chaos ensued. Now, the lawsuit states, quote, Williams cast Ashley in the role of a seducer and a liar, and she allowed the players to berate and accuse Ashley for hours. She did not redirect or counsel the players. That was what they had seen by the result of an abuse of power by her associate head coach, close quote. Now, after this point, Scoggins said she was made aware of her Title IX protection and was later told by Williams that she was off the team. And the lawsuit says, quote, University of Nebraska, actually, Williams and Alberts were motivated to avoid scandal and embarrassment to the Cornhuskers women's basketball program instead of being motivated to protect its student ally, Ashley. Nebraska, Williams, and Alberts allowed the speculation and perception to fester that Ashley was equally to blame or otherwise had done something improper when they should have sent a clear message that it's always improper for a professional coach to pursue a sexual relationship with a student athlete. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. For more information, contact the American Business Trust Company at info@abtrustco.com. That's info@abtrustco.com. Yes! Yeah, they've been with us since the very beginning of the show. It's a long time. That's over 7+ years. A couple of thousand episodes into the campaign. Quite a few, I might add. All right. Welcome back to everybody on TV and radio and everybody else streaming. Pick your favorite streamer. We're probably there. Also, everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, the only group that I know of that gets national television and radio coverage. Of course, a nice round of applause for them and for the page. All right. So, the last couple segments, I got to tell you, they have been very controversial. And of course, we must continue with the controversy, if you know what I mean, because that's what we do here, right? If it's not controversy, it's controversy. We talk about things that other shows and other networks allow that are actually too scared to talk about, in my opinion, because they don't want to lose their sponsors and all this other garbage. All right. How about this one? Let's switch to the Olympics. Let's go to the Olympics. All right. So, it is what it is, folks. How about this one? This is according to the Washington Post. Sex is back at the Olympic Village. All right, we're going to give a nice round of applause for that. And of course, Paris will hand out 300,000 condoms. Oh, yeah. That's no joke. That's no joke. In fact, 4 new sports, including skateboarding and surfing, will be featured at the Summer Olympics in Paris. But one age-old form of physical activity is also set to make a comeback too, and that is good old-fashioned knock-down, drag-out sex. Yes! All right, nice round of applause for that. Or as the French call it, sport in the room. Apparently that's what they say. I don't know. This was Washington Post said it, not me. So, hey, if you got a problem with that, go to the Post, not to me. Now, organizers in the City of Love are not only turning the page on the COVID-era intimacy ban imposed on athletes at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, but they plan to make 300,000 condoms available to the residents of the Olympic Village. How do you like that? Now, Laurent Michaud, director of the Olympic and Paralympic Village, in an interview with Sky News, with that quantity, every resident, quote, will have what they are expecting and what they need, close quote. I mean, what do they really need? Man, that's a whole lot of stuff, if you know what I mean. Wow. I wonder how much someone's getting paid for this one. Maybe the branding of it. Nonetheless, Michaud said organizers' goal for the 14,000 athletes and, of course, the staff and members of the press in the village during the games to, quote, feel very enthusiastic and comfortable, close quote. I'm sure they're going to feel comfortable. I mean, if they've got 300,000 condoms going out, somebody is going to feel comfortable in the grand scheme of things here. Of course, the Olympics and Paralympic Games will take place between July 26th and September 8th. So you've got a solid, what? I don't know. It looks like about 6 weeks for people to roll around and do whatever it is that they do. I don't know. That's a whole lot of condoms that could be used. That's all we know. And of course, there will be no alcohol, as is common for the Olympic Village. But Michaud says, quote, it's going to be a great place so they can actually share their moments, close quote. I can hit the laughing sound every sentence after this. This is ridiculous. And of course, the news will likely be welcomed by many athletes who were asked by the International Olympic Committee to avoid unnecessary forms of physical contact during the last Summer Olympics and Paralympic Games because of the pandemic. So, distributing condoms at the games isn't a new tradition, though. Now, I did not know this. Maybe you knew it. I didn't know this. According to Slate, it goes back to the Seoul Games back in 1988 in the Wayback Time Machine. right? So the Seoul Games in 1988, when about 8,500 condoms were handed out to raise awareness of HIV and AIDS. But of course, the numbers have shot up over time. At the Sydney Olympics in 2000, organizers had to order 20,000 more condoms after they realized the initial 70,000 they had ordered wouldn't be enough. Yes, apparently 70,000 condoms wasn't enough. Let's just order another 20,000, whatever the case. And of course, they had ordered it, and of course, that wouldn't even be enough according to the Inside the Game, a specialized sports publication. So here, let's move on to the Rio Games of 2016. All right, this topped the cake. With 450,000 male and female condoms distributed, prompting the New York Post to run an article with the headline, quote, ludicrous amounts of condoms shipped to Brazil for Olympics, close quote. Now, even Tokyo get on the action. Of course, with this ban on close contact wasn't exactly condom-free. Organizers planned to give 150,000 condoms, told by Reuters that they were, quote, not for use at the athletes' village, but to have athletes take them home, to take to their home countries to raise awareness, close quote. Come on, that's ridiculous. So technically, according to the Washington Post, it's impossible to know exactly how much sex goes on amongst athletes at the Olympics, but anecdotes from athletes suggest that there is no shortage of it. No, not at all. In fact, American soccer goalkeeper and two-time Olympic gold medalist Hope Solo told the four-letter network, that'd be ESPN, back in 2012, 12 years ago, and the American swimmer and 12-time Olympic medalist Ryan Lochte said, quote, there's a lot of sex going on. 70 to 75% of the Olympians were having sex, close quote. And we're going to give them an astounding round of applause. Why? Because they're over there, I guess, for, 6 weeks or whatever, locked up in the village. They've got to do something, but they're not supposed to do it a day or two before they compete. That's kind of the old boxing thing, right? You're not supposed to have any kind of physical contact before your fight while you're in training. How does that affect? Imagine the scope of the world records that were set. I wonder if the world record holders, the new records that were set, I wonder if because they didn't have sex. What about the competitors? Maybe they lost when they were supposed to win. Maybe they did have sex. Who the hell knows? But it's kind of interesting anyway. So Paris also recently announced it's taken the opportunity presented by the games to redesign the packet, because it needs it, of course, on the condoms that it gives away throughout the year. And of course, City Hall is hosting a contest to find the packet's next design. Oh yeah, they're even doing that. Centered around, of course, the theme of sexual content and, or better yet, sexual consent. That too. And is encouraging a nod to the festive framework of the games. Interesting. Not everyone at the Olympics is rolling around the sack, though. And as the Washington Post previously alluded to, some athletes have appeared very skeptical that the volume of condoms ordered for past Olympic Games is actually needed. So the Rio Olympics offered 450,000 condoms, and that was, quote, an absolutely huge allocation of condoms, close quote. And that was by retired English Olympic rowing medalist Zach Purchase, and that is what he told The Guardian in 2016. In fact, Purchase speculated that the majority of the condoms wouldn't be needed and said, quote, it is all so far from the truth of what it's like to be in there. It's not some sexualized cauldron of activity. We're talking about athletes who are focused on producing the best performance of their lives, close quote. Really? If that's the case, why the hell are they giving away hundreds of thousands of condoms year in and year out in all these different Olympic Games? Yeah, okay, Mr. Purchase, maybe you weren't having any, and that's great. For those people, that's great. But maybe the people that wanted some, they wanted it right now, if you know what I mean, and they're willing to blow up their performances, so to say. I don't know. Who the heck knows? Anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, United States snowboarder and Olympic medalist Jamie Anderson told US Weekly during the 2014 Winter Games in Sochi that many in the Olympic Village used the dating app Tinder to meet people. What? Yes, but she said it got, quote, way too distracting, close quote, and she deleted her account, quote, to focus on the Olympics, close quote. What the hell are you talking about? What are you doing on a dating app when you're there representing your country and you're not trying to represent your body parts and stuff? That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, while condoms might be offered to athletes, one traditional item of French culture and potential source of distraction won't be offered. And of course, good old Michaud says he told Sky News, quote, no champagne in the village, of course, but they can have all the champagne they want in Paris, close quote. All right, we'll give him a nice round of applause for a very nice statement at the end, but this is a story that nobody really knows much about. Now you know about it here on the Sports Circus. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Lots more to come. Don't miss the last segment. We'll talk a little bodybuilding. Back in a few.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcast. Of course, that's the full recorded show. Nothing's cut. It is what it is, folks. So if you don't like it, guess what? Click the next one, then the next one. There's a couple of thousand shows for you to go ahead and scroll through. So if you have nothing better to do for, I don't know, about 90 days or so, just go ahead and play them over and over. Get yourself a big, and I mean big, bucket of popcorn, a super tanker of your favorite drink, and listen to the circus, because there's a lot of good content here. In fact, we've got some really cool special guests coming up. In fact, very soon will be Mr. Las Vegas, and that would be Wayne Newton. Yes, Wayne Newton's going to be on the Sports Circus. How exciting is that? You know, I didn't know, but Wayne plays 13 instruments. I went to go see Wayne on my birthday a year ago, and I'm watching this guy pick up instrument after instrument. I'm like, look at this guy go. I think he's like 82, and man, the guy still got it. It's unbelievable. What a great show. You can see Wayne Newton at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino right here in Las Vegas. In fact, it's a very intimate showroom where he's at, and he just puts on a great show. It's a great personal story and journey of his life. I was overwhelmed with wow after watching that show. What a really, really nice human Wayne Newton is. Boy, he's just one of those guys. And also, you know, coming up real soon is going to be Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher, and of course from the Chicago Bears. Yes, gotta like that, folks. And if you're not a Bears fan, too bad. I am. Everybody, of course, on Chicago Food Favorites are going to get an up close and personal opportunity to ask questions for Brian Urlacher. And look, Brian's got a big personality. He's a lot of fun, and he says it like it is. And I love that about him. You just sit and talk to him about anything. But listen, you never know what's going to happen there. And you never know who else could pop in on the show as well. We've had that happen. We've had Pro Basketball Hall of Famers jump in on the show. We've had Stanley Cup champions jump in, NBA champions jump in, just out of the clear blue. You never know what's going to happen, folks, here on this show. That's why I always say it's a circus, and we prove it to you every day. In fact, that was coined by Colonel Bucky, our former producer, close friend of the show, and he still comes on the show every now and then. But he's the guy that said one time, it's a circus and you prove it every day. And he actually meant that sort of in a negative way. But I'm like, buddy, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to call in. I don't know what's going to happen. And in many cases, we've had some strange things happen. In fact, in the middle of an interview one time, I got to tell you this, it was kind of fun. We had Lee Steinberg on the show. In fact, my sidekick at the time, his name was Long Beach Lenny. So luckily, Lenny was on with me. And we're coming back from our first commercial break. And I let Lenny bring us back, etc., from the break. And welcome back to Sports Circus. And right when we were coming back, I told Lenny, make sure you handle it, right? And then I'll jump in, throw it back to me. And what happened was the power went out in my building. Oh, yeah, round of applause, right? No, I don't think so. But luckily, it was Lenny that took over for about maybe 2 minutes while my machine was rebooting. Everything, it just power surged. And everything went dark. It was unbelievable. And at that time, that was the biggest guest we've had on the show. And mind you, I think this was, I want to say it was January of 2018. You know, certain things you don't forget, like your favorite guest, your not so favorite guest, if you know what I mean. But we've had plenty of big names on since then. I think arguably the biggest name and personality we've had on the show today, legend Mario Andretti. Now that itself, that was a phenomenal show. And Mario is such a nice guy, such a gracious guy. But I love how he stood his ground when two-time Super Bowl champion and American Ninja Warrior Tyrone Poole had said, work that thing. Well, outside of work that thing. No, the reality is, Tyrone said, would you ever want like a Rolls Royce to go cruising around with? And of course, I'm just paraphrasing. You'd have to go back and listen to the episode. But Mario said, I just want to go fast. I don't want to go slow. It's just not what I do. No. And so, look, we've had great guests on from music to film to sports and entertainment, whatever, even business. Billionaire Jeff Hoffman was on the show. Now, that was cool. And of course, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Of course, he gets an astounding round of applause as he's making progress in the presidential race. All right, go Bobby, go. Bobby's doing a great job. And you know what? Bobby's a straight guy. No politics on this show. Now, he's just a regular good guy, and he's a friend of the circus and a very good human. So we always like to make sure we shout out all those people that have done great things for us and been great guests for us. Now, the ones that we were basically 30 seconds into the show, and I'm looking at my watch saying, oh my, really? That person is still here? And my ears are bleeding. It's crazy. But look, there have been guests that I thought were horrific. But it turns out that the audience actually liked them. I mean, really liked them. And I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to say that. But I can assure you that there are guests that are like, this is all I have to offer. And one of them was a football player, and I'm going to stop right there with it. And I'm literally 30 seconds into it, and I'm trying to feed him. And he's done hundreds of interviews. But he just didn't have enough content to fill a 5-minute segment. He's a very nice guy. But sometimes when your focus is tunnel vision, that's all you got. And look, it's not the worst thing in the world, but when it comes to conversations, so this is for all you people that are doing these podcasts. Look, a podcast is a podcast. It's basically stored one-way voice, or it could be video too. The reality is this. If you are a new podcaster, all right, there's 3 million of them out there. How do you make yours stand out from everybody else's? Right? Big question. That's the $64 million question, which the game show used to be the $64,000 question. Well, look, it's always the unexpected. Catch them off guard. Do your homework. Know who you're talking to. But don't be the person that controls the dialogue. Let them speak. It's okay. You can always hear yourself speak. You don't always have to be heard. There are many people on television today, they will talk over everybody. And they do that because, for some reason, they believe that they need to be heard, that their agenda is more important than the guest that was invited onto the program in the first place. That's a big fat no-no. You let your guests talk. Listen to your guest. That will keep the flow of your show going. Become a good listener, and you will do a very good job on your new podcast, if that's what you have. Now, of course, for all you veterans out there, I'm just saying old hat to you. You already know what this is. But remember, those people that have these television shows and radio shows on Pick Your Favorite Channel, many of them, I won't say all of them, many of them have to worry about what the sponsors want you to say. Because if they don't like it, they'll pull their advertising, or they'll threaten to pull their advertising, and now you lost a sponsor. And that's how you're making your money, right? And the TV stations, if the TV stations or radio stations are paying you, the stations want to make sure, the ownership wants to make sure that you follow what the sponsors want. Otherwise, you're going to scare them off and you're going to hurt their revenue stream. And how the heck are they going to pay you is if the revenue drop falls apart. So these are the things to consider. So when you're doing your own content, you're basically writing your own content, become a good listener and you will find your way to the pot of gold. That's how this stuff works. And if you want more information on producing your own show and distributing your own show, how to do it, how to go about full pre-production, broadcast, post-production, editing, voiceover, and distribution to different television and radio stations, contact AAMP.TV. That's info@aamp.tv, info@aamp.tv for all of your questions and comments. And they'll get back to you very quick. All right, last segment here, we're going to talk briefly about bodybuilders. Now, listen, bodybuilders, you better beware because too much protein damages the arteries according to certain tests. Now, protein shakes, of course, are the choice for many of the world's legendary and, of course, the world's legion of lycra-covered gym bunnies and flexing gym rats. After all, a body needs protein for the repair and recovery of muscles and tissues, doesn't it? But there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. Now, getting over 22% of dietary calories from protein, usually obtained from eggs, meat, and milk, can cause hardening of the arteries. And of course, a condition which in turn can lead to a stroke, heart failure, heart attack, and who else knows? All kinds of bad stuff. Now, of course, that's according to the results of tests on mice and humans. done by the Pittsburgh School of Medicine and published by the journal Nature Metabolism. So, senior and co-corresponding author Babak Razini, professor of cardiology, warns that, quote, our studies show that dialing up your protein intake in pursuit of better metabolic health is not a panacea. And of course, you could be doing real damage to your arteries, close quote. So the Pittsburgh's team findings fingered leucine, an amino acid in protein, as having, quote, a disproportionate role in driving the pathological pathways linked to atherosclerosis or stiff hardened arteries, close quote. That's a real thing, folks. And Rosani and colleagues said that their work has thrown up more questions, such as, quote, what happens when a person consumes between 15% of the daily calories from protein as recommended by the USDA, your Department of Agriculture, right? And 22% of daily caloric intake from protein, close quote. And of course, the team says there could still be a sweet spot for protein intake that maximizes muscle gain, but does not damage the arteries. So you think about this. Look, if you're going to load your body up with protein, well, what happens? Your kidneys work a lot harder, right? When your kidneys work hard, what happens? The load on the kidneys puts a big load on the heart. So now you have a problem with one. Oh, by the way, now you compound the problem because you have a problem with the other. If you have too much damage to the kidneys, and maybe you're a little bit older or you have a weaker heart, in some cases, it's possible, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, in some cases it's possible, and I've heard this from different nephrologists, which is the kidney doctor. They said, look, if your heart's not strong enough, we can't treat your kidneys, right? So for those people that are getting dialyzed, well, their heart is strong enough, right, to go through dialysis. But I'll tell you what, folks, don't fool around with this delicate imbalance of your body's chemistry and its biology. Because look, even if something such as your phosphorus is off, the wheels could completely come off if your phosphorus is off or your potassium is off. We don't have time to talk about this because we're out of time. But folks, pay attention to your diet. Have some kind of balance and don't eat a bunch of candy and cookies and stuff like I do, because let's face it, that just makes me walk another 10 to 15 to 20 miles or ride another 20 to 40 miles, which I do on a regular basis. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.